Well, maybe the wall will stay up, maybe it won't. But anyway, welcome back to 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, Halloween 2025 extravaganza. And here's some more late night classics. Zombies of Mora, which had Allison Hayes, the former 50-foot woman, being a little bit nastier than she usually is in this one. Perennial B-movie horror stars like Gene Roth and Morris Arkham, and Greg Palmer in the lead. And the premise is that this ship had sunk with a bunch of diamonds on it, and the crew have become zombies, underwater zombies that are guarding the treasure, and honestly cannot be supposedly freed from whatever's going on until the diamonds are dispersed or some crazy shit like that. Now, these aren't your Romero zombies where they bite and rip people apart and shit like that. These are pretty slow, lackadaisical zombies who eventually, I guess, they drown you or strangle you. There's one scene where basically the hero stabs one zombie in the neck and then complains about the lack of blood. Maybe he didn't stab it deep enough. Then they flip to a scene and there's visible blood on the zombie's side. So anyway, there's this old woman who basically knows what's going on in her daughter, and she is loath to get involved. But then when her daughter is saved by these people, she tells them where the wreck is. Of course, they go diving for the wreck and are attacked by zombies. They get pulled up. There's zombies clinging to them, whatever. Like I said, Allison Hayes is playing a real fucking bitch in this one. I'm trying to think of a film where she didn't play a real bitch, and the only one that comes to mind is The Crawling Hand. But anyway, she goes wandering out and is zombified. But her husband doesn't buy the fact that she's zombified and takes her back to the house, where she wanders around, picks up a knife, and stabs one of the crew members in his bed. So the only way to contain her is to put candles all around her bed. Seems that light and fire are these things' enemies, so they use flare guns and things like that. Of course, she joins the zombies. Now, of course, the only way to get rid of the zombies is to disperse the diamonds, and they do that at the end, making all the zombies go back to their graves, whatever the hell it is. This is another one that didn't show up until late at night. There was a handful of these movies made by Columbia and produced by Sam Katzman. And this one was directed by Edward L. Kahn. Now, some of these were good, some of these were not so good, like The Laughable Giant Claw. But you also had a movie called The Werewolf, which basically had a car crash victim being injected with an experimental serum that's supposed to help people with nuclear fallout, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And the guy turns into a werewolf. Now, this was a big fucking deal to me back in the 8mm days, because I had, the 8mm 200-foot reel of the werewolf and used to run it. And I noticed that the werewolf used to run around like somebody kicked him in the nuts. Now, if to long-time horror fans that werewolf makeup looks familiar, it's the same makeup that they used in 1943 for Return of the Vampire, a Bela Lugosi vehicle that Columbia was going to use to be a sequel to Dracula, but Universal, I think, intervened with the copyright thing, whatever, so they changed all the characters but not the plot. So in this one, it opens up, and this is a really eerie type deal where you're in a graveyard, you see this werewolf walking through carrying something, he's sniffing, he's the vampire's familiar servant, whatever, and this is right before World War II. Well, they get into this whole thing, Dracula's Armand Tesler, and he gets a stake driven through his heart, which frees the werewolf, played by Matt Willis, from his servitude. Segue up into World War II, there's a blitzkrieg, the graveyard is hit, the coffin is uprooted, and several guys that are hired to rebury the corpses find Armand Tesler's corpse and remove the stake from his heart, bringing him back, which gets him to enslave the werewolf again. And we go through the whole routine. He's after the ancestors of the people who fucking killed him to begin with. It all ends up where he's about to do something to this one woman who has been brought there by the werewolf, who has been mortally wounded, and basically Armand tells him that he's not going to help him to crawl over there and die. Well, then there's another blitzkrieg, which caves in the tomb, and Armand is knocked out, but the dying werewolf pulls him outside and drives a stake through his heart and then dies himself. And then the people find him, and Armand is melted into a gooey mess, and the werewolf is dead with a smile on his face that he's freed from his bondage. Not a bad film, but is loaded with religious overtones and things like that. You know, that's the time period. Like I said, the graveyard scenes are really spooky and eerie and really well done. But like I said, that makeup was taken and put on Stephen Rich for the werewolf in the other one. Oddly, going back when I was a kid, maybe some of you guys might remember this. There was a showcase on Channel 5 at Saturday around 1 o'clock in the afternoon called Detective Mystery. And that's where I saw this. They had a bunch of like Mr. Moto, Bulldog Drummond, things like that, when they would throw in stuff like, you know, Return of the Vampire, Cry of the Werewolf, Face of Marble, Dr. Renault's Secret, yada yada, whatever. So that's where I originally saw it. And again, these are all available from Columbia. Katzman's stuff is on a 4 Blu-ray set here, a DVD set, so it's readily accessible. If you notice, I am wearing, I can stand up, can I do this? The original Smut Peddler shirt from Something Weird Video, now available at Paul Bearer Press. So go to Paul Bearer Press and get your Smut Peddler shirt and be proud that you buy smut or peddle smut, which I am. And I may be doing something with Paul Bearer Press down the road, so stay tuned for that. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Above all, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.